As is probably well known amongst people who have watched my videos, I'm a bit of a buzzkill when it comes to dance music. No matter what becomes popular in this particular genre that gains momentum and charts, sometimes becoming number one, unfortunately, my snob gear goes into overdrive. That being said, however, this was a year that produced some quite good dance music. I've talked about a few songs this year that I enjoyed, and I'll list more examples when it comes to my best of list. Nevertheless, there are still some that sucked balls, and this is the worst of them. And wouldn't you know it, it features my good friend Tiny Temper. Out of all the house music to have charted this year, Tsunami represents all of the qualities in music that I find abhorrent. Blaring electronic effects that aim to do nothing but burst your eardrums until they bleed, which actually would be doing the listener a favour so they didn't have to listen to this garbage. Production that's the equivalent of fingernails down a chalkboard from a couple of quote-unquote producers. This time it's Canadian dance music duo DVBBS, and no, I am not calling them dubs because dubs is spelt with a U, not a V. And American DJ Borges, a collaboration that we're never going to hear from again, crossed fingers, and lyrical delivery from someone who has as much talent as a rubbish heap. This isn't me picking on the guy, and I don't have an agenda with Tiny Temper, but what the hell do people see in this guy? His delivery is just appallingly unlistenable, emphasising the end of each word, stretching out the last syllable with that annoying as shit gimmick that he has, going, yeah, at every given opportunity that feels like someone's kicking my brain out of its fucking skull. On a lyrical level, the song doesn't have any cohesion. Apparently, Tiny is stuck in this rut, yet simultaneously is better than everyone around him and is on such a level he's telling people who are killing his vibe to get on his level, which is extremely low if you're asking me. All the while yelling the word jump and tsunami randomly, which, if anyone out there can tell me how these words connect with the verses and it makes some sort of logical sense, I will give you a fucking medal. So, yeah. Shit music, shit lyrics, delivered by someone who somehow has a career in music, and yet, it's only number 6 on the list. God help me. Going back to Katy Perry for a moment, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to depress you guys even more by bringing her up again, but it's necessary. She's an example of a bad artist who does show some glimpses of passable material and can occasionally drop some good tracks, but her gradient seems to be on a constant curve, starting off with the horrendous I Kissed a Girl, one of my most hated songs of all time, but then releasing something kind of decent along the way. Diving again, rising, etc, etc. This is very common amongst artists who have been around for some time, but nowhere can I remember where a group has gotten progressively worse, and this year, Maroon 5 sunk to an all-time low. I know some people had gripes with One More Night a couple years back and proclaimed that song as Maroon 5's worst song, but honestly, I thought that song was just mediocre more than anything. And I didn't even mind Animals. Okay, it's not great by any means, but it's catchy at least and has a decent instrumentation. Well, for me at least. But maybe that's the reason why I'm willing to give that song a pass, is because it immediately came after Map, a song that not only irritates the shit out of me within the first opening notes, but is as pleasant as food poisoning. The instrumentation is so flat and one-dimensional, it's the equivalent of eating a cardboard sandwich with a glass of liquidized paper as a drink to boot. The guitar melody is limp and is instantly drowned out at the earliest opportunity, which I don't know whether or not that's a good or bad thing. The percussion is disjointed and doesn't fit with the song, which is baffling since this song is struggling for some sort of identity, and after 3 minutes 10 seconds of this garbage, it still has nothing in terms of substance or style. But it's Adam Levine's vocal delivery that makes this the worst song Maroon 5 has ever done. Seriously, this guy becomes even more insufferable with every passing album. I'm a terrible person, but even I have a line, and Levine has crossed it. Starting off with that balls-crushing falsetto, increasingly becoming even more horrendous in the chorus, lifting his vocals at the end of almost every single line, painting this picture of this whimpering excuse of a person who is apparently treated like crap by this woman but wants to be reacquainted with her. I can only imagine that she has Levine's nuts and he desperately wants them back, which would explain the lack of bass in his voice. And if I were her, I'd wait for him to arrive and then I'd crush those balls in a vice right in front of his face. Next. Every now and then a song will come along where everything about it is absolutely detestable and will not only chart but chart well. This doesn't come as a surprise to me anymore, as this has been the case for so many years and will continue to be the case in the years to come. But as time goes by and songs come and go, there are certain songs that you wouldn't think make the year-end 100 list. Thankfully, some songs miss the cut, hence why you won't be seeing Nicki Minaj's Anaconda on this list. This song, on the other hand, isn't so lucky. As is well documented, every single collaboration between Enrique Iglesias and Pitbull has resulted in some of the worst songs that have ever been created, and I'm a Freak is no different. With every passing song, Enrique continues on his regression as a songwriter, and that's probably due to the fact that he has realised that creating subpar crap like this is not only going to get him a hit, but by tag teaming once again with one of the most detestable people in pop music, that's only going to guarantee that even more idiots are going to buy his crap. I will say that this isn't the worst song Iglesias has ever done. It's going to take something truly horrendous to beat the beautifully titled Tonight I'm Fucking You. But that's not saying much. All the while repeating the word freak 31 times, the song is another meet a random girl in a club who Iglesias and Pitbull both want to fuck and has no interest in wanting to get to know this person. It's a less gratuitous version of Tonight I'm Fucking You, and the production is marginally less annoying, although it almost succeeds in drowning out any vocals, which I'm disappointed it didn't do. But what shoots this song so far up my list is the chorus. Not necessarily the words, but the delivery. Enrique's singing voice has always been questioned, but the over-excessive use of auto-tune, especially that horribly pitch-shifted delivery of the word freak in the chorus, is hilarious and at the same time so tooth-grindingly bad that I can't help but flinch every time it comes about. Pitbull surprisingly shows some restraint about bragging about himself, more or less repeating the chorus and incorporating it into his piece, but his piece is easily the worst. Basically, he tells this girl that he wishes to engage in cunnilingus with her until she explodes, and once he gets his fill, he charmingly tells the listener that due to the fact that he came, saw and conquered, he's going to go off to the next one. Well, Pitbull's never made the claim that he's a classy kind of guy, has he? But overall, this song incorporates everything I hate about these two. Smugness to the degree of where I actually start to question how people with no discernible talent can continue having a career in music, while genuinely talented people have to make do with little to zero commercial success at all. Then again, we'll wait and see in the future what material is guarded as classics and which ones aren't. Speaking of talentless hacks, okay, it's pretty much common for music reviewers on the internet when making these lists not to include multiple songs from one specific artist. This has its fair share of criticisms, and whilst I can understand as well as agree with the criticisms, I think it's good to stick to the one song per artist rule. For one, it gives variety to the list, but it also prohibits filling up the list with what's called easy targets. Nevertheless, exceptions can be made in certain circumstances, and this is certainly one of those. I didn't want to deal with this arsehole again. I even mentioned it previously on this list, but goddamn you, Will.i.am, why don't you just go away? Criticising a Will.i.am song has become pretty much a redundant topic of conversation because it becomes a task of not having to repeat yourself about previous songs by Will.i.am that I've reviewed. First off, I know some of you out there will be quick to point out that on last year's list I put 3 Will.i.am songs all on the worst of list, all with which were at number 2. Reason being was because I found all 3 songs equally bad. However, I can say without any hint of hesitation that It's My Birthday is not only worse than Feeling Myself, but it's probably the worst song Will.i.am has ever done. Yes, even worse than Scream and Shout. And think about that for a moment. The biggest crime that Feeling Myself commits is that it's annoying. This, on the other hand, is in a completely different category all unto itself. I don't know what Cody is trying to attempt in this song. It isn't luxury rap because it's anything but luxury and sounds like a 12-year-old's idea of what luxury is supposed to be. And it's certainly not electro-hop, no matter how it's packaged, since the electro side of it is limp, unimaginative, and lacks any sort of energy or life to it. And the hop side of it is so legless that it falls flat on its face. And it isn't even hip-hop because anything that sounds like it was written on a used napkin in the space of 2 minutes doesn't even deserve to be recognised than anything but utter shit. Everything that's wrong with this song is covered in my review. The shit singing from Wise, which proves that the guy can't hold a note. Will.i.am abusing the English language, forcing every single rhyme with a jackhammer, and raping of your audio senses thanks to the auto-tune sounds like you're being serenaded by Siri. The fact that this guy not only has a career, but the fact that he's judging talent on the UK version of The Voice. You know, I can really sympathise with the people who think that the human race should be wiped out completely. And as for Cody Wise, I can sleep easy knowing that this turdball will never have another hit song ever again. I have to preface this choice first before I reveal it. There are songs that chart that, for all intents and purposes, are not as lyrically horrendous or as soul-crushingly bad as It's My Birthday, nor is the music as grating or causes your ears to bleed like Dark Horse does. And on a technical level, you could argue that those songs deserve to be higher than this one. And you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe this is just misplaced anger on my behalf and that this song doesn't deserve to be at number 2. However, everybody has their breaking point with certain artists, and for me, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. 2014 saw Taylor Swift burst back onto the scene with her newest album, cleverly titled 1989, an album that honestly you couldn't have paid me to listen to. And the very first song that she chose to drop off the album was, as usual, a good old dosage of Miss Swift's delusional, childlike, petulant crap that filled me with bile and rage every single time it came on the radio. One of the very few songs this year where the second those opening drums kicked in, I either immediately turned the radio off or I switched to another station. By now, everyone and their mothers have ranted about this song, which is basically Taylor declaring to those who don't like her that she's just gonna shake off those comments. Really? Shake it off? What are you, 3? I know that you have the mentality of one, but physically you're in your mid-20s. Grow up. And yeah, what better way to say that you don't care what people think of you or say about you than to write a 3-minute 39-second song where you actively acknowledge them. This is pure rich little white girl syndrome. A classic case of someone who's so disconnected from their own being, who thinks that everyone around them is wrong, but by stepping back, looking directly in the mirror, and maybe realising that she has something to do with the fact why she has so many detractors, that might be a good start. What's wrong, Taylor? Are the mean little people upsetting you? Have they said nasty things about you? Aw, poor thing. I'm sorry, but I find it very difficult to feel any shred of sympathy for someone who last year raked in over $64 million. Why should I feel sorry for someone who's making more money than the vast majority of us will ever see in our lifetimes? On an artistic level, this song is really poorly written, rhyming late with brain, dates with stay, play with hate, and own with go. The word shake is repeated 81 times, and even for Taylor's standards, this song is ridiculously lazy. Her previous shit is appalling, but at least some of those verses were detailed. Another song with an interlude that adds to the hilarity of Swift's delusions. I'll say this, however, this beat is sick. In the sense that it makes me want to throw up every time I hear it. Forgetting for a second that all the things that she says other people have said about her in this song, here's something that you can add to your collection, Taylor. Sell out. And this song is all the proof I need. Unbelievably though, there is still one song that I find worse than this. Wanna know what it is? For those of you who stuck with my reviews over the last year would have probably already guessed what my number 1 pick is. It's not like I made it my intention to put this song at number 1. Hell, I even made it my mission to find a song that was worse than this one. But that was to no avail. As I said on my previous worst of the year list, for a song to make my number 1 choice for worst song of the year, it must have no redeemable qualities about it whatsoever. Nothing about this song has anything that I can extract that could give this song some credit. I reviewed this song back in June and I quoted in this review, "To all the music artists out there, there are 6.5 months left of the year, and if you could create a worse song than this, then you'll have the honour of topping my worst of 2014 list." As is apparent, no one was successful in this challenge. Gratuitous, lazy, vulgar, horrendous, vomit-inducing, sleazy, gut-wrenching, and shit. All of these adjectives are too kind to describe this song. There are artists out there who make me wonder 2 things. 1. How in all that is good and pure can this person have a career? And 2, Have the standards of the buying public really sunk so low that this is what they find appealing now? 2014 was notably called the year where songs about arses were rife in the charts, and this one proudly sat at the top of being the worst of the worst. Whatever appeal people find in this song, I'm sorry, but you're deluding yourselves in thinking that this song has any merit to it at all. The production is utter crap. The hook is driven forward by a recorder of all instruments. There's some sort of dull thudding bass in the background where it succeeds in doing nothing but giving me a migraine, and along with the finger snaps, it's all very eerie and creepy. It's not pleasing in the slightest, which isn't helped in the verse where, minus the finger snaps, everything is replaced by some sort of synth which only adds to this song's creepiness. And then there's the lyrics, which are the laziest that I've heard all year, and to think that beforehand he released trumpets, it kind of takes off any shine that this knobhead has a romantic streak to him whatsoever. Basically, Derulo compares some random woman to a piece of meat, claiming that just the mere sight of this woman's huge arse, which he compares to 2 planets, is enough for this jackass to be making marriage plans, as well as the promise that he can make her famous on Instagram. And yeah, the word wiggle is repeated 59 times to the point where it no longer stands out as a word but just becomes an irritable noise. Where's the joke? How is this funny? Or what's the punchline? None of this leads to anything remotely funny, nor does it go down some sort of satirical route about how people seem to get their 15 minutes of fame nowadays through the most effortless shit imaginable. But then again, this is Jason Derulo we're talking about, a man that will never write anything funny, witty or insightful if he lived to be 1,000. And usually I don't talk about music videos, but this in no way is some sort of empowerment to women video, nor is it humorous in any way. Yeah, it's really funny to have a music video full of scantily clad beautiful women parading around with some random old woman and fat bloke waving his shirt around. Comedy genius right there, folks. But the real culprit here is Snoop Dogg, who has reached the stage of his career where he doesn't give a fuck anymore and will just write whatever shit comes to mind. Here he delightfully expresses his desire for some women to swallow his cum, all the while telling her that he wants to anally penetrate her, followed up by wanting to wipe his dick on her. Is this just me? Please, anyone, am I the only person here who is completely appalled by these lyrics? There's nothing redeemable about this song whatsoever. Not a damn thing. And this song rightfully deserves the dishonour of being the worst hit song of 2014. Breathe in and breathe out. So, there you go. Those were my top 10 worst hit songs of 2014. What did you guys think? Did you agree, disagree? Whatever your opinions are, leave them in the comments section below. I welcome all comments. And yes, next time, my top 10 best songs of 2014. Can't wait. But until then, I'm That Song Review Guy. And until next time, take care.